Hey, welcome. We are going to be talking about 3 unconventional ways to purchase a property, most likely like a primary residence, but I guess it could be used for investment as well. And these are not like the typical put 20% down, get a loan, and continue with your life owning a house. These are actually things that are kind of out of the box thinking, which falls under the category of creative financing. And even if you've already heard of creative financing, like owner financing and so on, maybe you haven't heard of one of these methods, because these are a little bit out of the box to kind of get you into home ownership with hopefully as little money down as possible. So do all these methods work for credit challenged people? No, but some of them do. Some of them have nothing to do with credit. In fact, you don't need to be a citizen in some of them. You can be a foreign national. Truly, you can be doing acquisitions like this from other countries, and the sellers would never even know. And right before I get started, my name is Maciek Zaremba. I'm a real estate agent in Sarasota, Florida, and I'm an investor as well. 20 years I've been investing in residential real estate, and I really like the creative financing space because it's all about solving people's problems and not taking advantage of them, which sometimes it has that reputation. So if you take anything away from this video, now take it with you, but with like an eye of doing the right thing. Don't take advantage of people, please. This is not at all intended for that, and there are shady people out there, but if you do the right thing over and over and over, then the right thing will happen to you. That's my belief. So do it right, but let's get right into this. And by the way, if you're interested in buying a property using one of these methods, feel free to schedule a call with me. Feel free to reach out to me and see if I can help in any way. I am an agent. I do get compensated, and some of these methods do allow for agent compensation. So let's get started right away. 3 methods. So first one is owner financing, and personally I've acquired a few properties this way. Owner financing, let me kind of go a little bit deeper into it, because it's not just that the seller gives you a loan. Why would they give you a loan? I know one thing for sure is that some people like to help other people. There's a lot of old-time owners who have been a landlord for a long time, and they're just tired of it, and they want to give, they want to help someone. They want to help a young person really trying to make it. They want to help a single mom with a couple kids, because maybe they were a single mom with a couple kids at some point in time, and they're willing to do owner financing. And all that really means is that they're going to sell you their property, and they will give you the loan on that property. So this is one of the methods that you can get into home ownership with zero money out of pocket, bad credit score. Really, it's just an agreement between a buyer and a seller. So whatever you get into an agreement is what you get. And here's a couple warning signs about it. The first warning sign is that sometimes owner finance deals are sold at over market value. So if the property's worth $300,000, you might pay $330,000. And why would you do that? Well, because you're getting a loan for that property from the homeowner, and they're not going to go and charge you all the fees that the banks charge. They're going to be a lot more flexible with you, right? And when you do this, try to set up a 30-year fixed rate with them. But a lot of times they just want a 5-year loan, where it balloons after 5 years. So then you'll have to refinance at some point in time. So that is like a little warning, because if you bought it for $330,000 and it's only worth $300,000, and then let's just say the market stays stagnant in 5 years, nothing goes up in value, nothing goes down in value, are you going to be able to refinance that property out if you did $0 out of pocket? And the answer is most likely not. What you're going to have to do is try to find another person to give you a loan, or renegotiate back with this same person. And in my experience, those people are willing to renegotiate, usually with terms favorable to them, because they're the ones doing you the favor. Now, here's a big warning sign, okay? Rent to own is not the same as owner financing. Rent to own can be a giant scam. It can be. Usually, it is. I see rent to own properties on the MLS once in a while, and quite frankly, There's so many ways to scam you as a buyer, especially if you're not being represented by a very knowledgeable agent that's knowledgeable in not just traditional purchases, but creative purchases, like I am. One of the biggest things I see with rent to own is that those properties, you basically rent for more than the rent value is. You give like a $20,000 down payment, 10, 15, 20, $30,000 down payment. That's going to be used towards your down payment. Don't get me wrong, you're not just giving this money away. But if you don't buy that property, you are just giving that money away. You're going to lose that money. And people prey on people who don't know what they're doing, and they just want a house so bad, so they will buy it rent to own. And then they end up buying a property, but not really. They feel like they bought it, but they're just renting. And then when it comes time to buying it, they find out they can't get insurance because the roof is too old. And then without insurance, you can't buy it. And now you've defaulted. Your money gets taken from you, and you're out of luck. You have no home. And quite frankly, that's the scam. That's one of the scams with rent to own. So warning sign, rent to own is not the same as owner financing. Very different. Now, another warning sign about owner financing is I highly suggest you have a real estate agent involved representing you, the buyer. Here's why. And listen, there's plenty of agents that will help you through a transaction for like $1,000 or 0.5% or 1% of the purchase price, okay? Which is an expense on your end, right? You pay for that. So don't get caught in a position where you're doing your own paperwork, or worse yet, the seller is doing the paperwork for you guys, because the seller's looking out for their best interests. And you can get an agent, really just call anyone, or call me if it's in the state of Florida, and make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, okay? Make sure that you are in a position with the right contract, with all the right disclosures, with everything being explained to you. Because if it's your first rodeo, you're not going to really know how to ride the bull, So really just make sure that you get representation of somebody that's going to hold your hand through this process, and make sure that you succeed in this purchase. Okay, now another warning sign, which I kind of touched on a little bit, but let me just go a little bit deeper, is, my thought is like, don't overpay. But it's okay to overpay sometimes. It really depends on the situation. If the situation is that you're getting a 30-year fixed rate, sure, overpay. That's fine. Not like 50%, but just overpay. That's okay. If you're doing a very short-term loan, like a 2-year loan or something, I bought an owner finance property not too long ago, a few years back, and it was only a 1-year term. So I had to figure out how to get the money for that property within 1 year. And thankfully the market increased and it wasn't an issue. But it's all situational dependent. If you have any questions, just reach out to me. But the main issue with it is that if you end up giving, let's just say 30% over, and you are happy with the home, but then you have a 10-year term, and in 10 years you are upside down on the property, meaning the value went down, you've overpaid, the value went down, and there's no way for you to refinance, then you're going to be in a bad position. So my thought is, don't overpay, but it also depends. You really should have someone involved helping you. Like I mentioned, get a realtor to help you and show you all the pros and cons of getting that particular situation. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Feel free to write me an email. My email address is sarasota@sarasota.com. I'll be glad to get on a call and help you out. All right, let's get into the second creative way to purchase a property. And this is actually a traditional purchase, but it's a creative structure. So not all agents think of this stuff and know about this stuff even. So here's what it is. Basically, if you're a first-time home buyer, or just someone who wants to acquire a property with very little money out of pocket, and you don't have a very high debt to income ratio. If you don't know what that is, look it up, DTI. You really should know about that if you're going to acquire properties. It's a combo pack, and here's what you're doing. You're going to go get the down payment assistance program. The DPA is a program where you do a class, you educate yourself a little bit on finances, money management, home ownership, and you get a grant. Now, they don't like just give you the cash. What they do is they fund your down payment. They assist you. This is a down payment assistance program. So they'll fund you for that 3% down. Now, if you have a decent job and you have the income qualifying and your debt to income ratio is right, then you can go and start shopping for a property where 3% of the purchase price is being given to you, and you do owe that money, but you have no payment on it. There's 0% interest rate, 0 payments, and it's due upon the time of 30 years, which is crazy. So basically, it's an amazing deal because you pay it back after 30 years, or when you sell your house, or when you refinance your house. So that's the down payment assistance program. So when you combo that program, and you're getting 3% down, with an FHA loan or a conventional loan 3%, which you can get if you qualify for it. And then on top of that, you combo it with very creative seller terms. Now, I don't mean that the seller is going to finance you. I don't mean seller financing. What I mean is that the seller pays for your closing costs. So let's make up an example. You're buying a house for $300,000. You get 3% down payment from the down payment assistance program. Now you have your $291,000 left to fund, and you get a loan for that. And then you have probably an additional 4%, 3 to 4% in closing costs. Where do you get that money? The seller. The seller will pay your closing costs. And if you And all that really means is that you can't be lowballing offers. If you lowball offers, you're probably not going to get that accepted, okay? Go out there, and it's not going to be the perfect house necessarily, but it's going to be a house. And if it's not perfect for you, then turn it into a rental, eventually, after 1 year of living in there, So what I recommend is you get with someone who can really help you structure that deal, so that you get the free money from the down payment assistance program. Then you get the seller to pay your closing costs, and you could be into a house with no money out of pocket, or $500 or $1,000. I helped a client, Josie, get a property. She was in her 20s. She got a property, quaint little house, beautiful house, remodeled actually, and she got in for, I think, like $700 out of pocket, and she didn't even use the down payment assistance program. We had a very creative financing deal on that one. So there are ways to do this, and I highly recommend you get with someone that can help you out, get it done. And the one thing about this is that not all sellers will play ball. So basically, you have to find the right seller that's willing to contribute, up to 3% of the purchase price towards your closing costs. And not everyone will play ball, but as the inventory rises, as there's more and more homes for sale, then more and more people are desperate, and they just want to see an offer on the table. And if that offer is a little unconventional, like what I'm talking about, that's okay. A lot of them will play ball as long as they have a decent agent, which is definitely something hard to do. There's not a lot of really, really good agents out there. They all think they're great, but they don't even know what a DPA is, and they don't even know what creative financing is. So make sure that you find a seller, you find a property where the seller is willing to, kind of negotiate with you and play ball and really get you into that home ownership. And if not, move on to the next one. There are plenty of homes for sale right now, and there's more and more coming on the market every single day. We are almost in a buyer's market right now. And last thing I'll say about it is that a lot of times to get the seller to play ball is you offer full price or you offer over asking, okay? That's the deal. Like, you're asking them to give you 3%. So if they're selling a property for $300,000 and it's priced right, then maybe offer them, $309,000, which is 3% higher than the asking price. That way, they're basically getting their full asking, and they're more willing to play ball with you. And the only catch to that is that it has to appraise. So, if it's priced right, then hopefully it will appraise. But you never know with appraisals. That's always a risk. And, you win some, you lose some. But if you keep trying, you'll eventually win. All right, let's get into the last way to buy creatively. This is called sub 2. subject to. You may have seen a lot of people doing like live phone calls to realtors on TikTok or Instagram live or YouTube live. And basically here's what they're doing. They're reaching out to agents. And you can do this too, by the way. You don't need an agent to do this for you. I mean, you put the hustle in and you get the reward, okay? You call agents and you say, hey, listen, I'm calling about this or that listing. And what I'm trying to do is trying to buy this property. I've seen it and I'm interested. Tell me if the seller would be willing to do this. I'd like to buy it and take over their payments. You know, most agents are not going to play ball, because they don't understand what this means. So they're going to be in this position where they say, no, seller just wants cash and close quick. And, you know, and that's not proper representation, but that's a different story. So subject to means that you're purchasing a property subject to the loan that's already in place, where literally you will be taking over the loan payments. There's a huge benefit in this, okay? The benefit is that sometimes these loans have been around for 6 years, and out of a 30-year fixed rate, you're getting that 30-year fixed rate, but 6 years in. So your principal to interest ratio is very favorable to you, okay? Now, you're also not in a 30-year loan. You only have 24 years left. It's amazing. It's a really, really good deal. And why would someone do that? Well, there's lots of reasons. You know, if you go on Zillow and you do the search of pre-foreclosures, that means that people have stopped paying their mortgage, started falling behind on their mortgage. A lot of those people will be willing to do the sub 2, and they won't understand it. So they'll need someone to hold their hand and explain it to them and really get them on board, because it is not a thing that people know about. It's very unconventional. Now, I have yet to acquire a property sub 2. However, I am making a lot of calls, making a lot of expired calls, and I am seeing a lot of opportunities. In fact, I almost had one a couple weeks ago where the person almost just literally handed me the keys and was willing to sign a deed, and I didn't have to do anything but just do it, sign the paperwork. Literally no money out of pocket or anything. The guy, you know, there's people who got in trouble, bought the house a year ago, wanted to flip it and sell it for $10,000 more, and it's not how the market worked out. Prices went down, and now they're stuck because they didn't actually want the house. They were just speculating and trying to buy property, you know, at a discount and flip it for more, you know, and now it's worth less than what they bought it for. So there are many situations, but I know that in 2024, with daily phone calls to expireds and for sale by owners, I'm going to find a property that I will acquire sub 2. I guarantee it. As soon as I do, I'll post it on the channel, let you know what the details of the deal were. Let's ask ourselves a question. Is this a strategy that you can purchase a property for $0 out of pocket? And the short answer is most likely not, because you still have closing costs. And in this case, you know, like what kind of closing costs? Let's just say someone's willing to give you the keys. Well, you know, you have to pay the attorney to draft up all the paperwork for and give title insurance and all that. You probably have to prepay 1 year of your insurance. You know, there are a few costs, so you probably need 5-10 grand for this strategy. But one thing you avoid are all the fees, everything associated with the loan, because you're taking over somebody's loan, and it's not an official assumption of mortgage. I'll get into that in a second, because there is a risk here. But you're basically taking over the payments. So instead of them paying, you're paying. That's it. You're just taking over the payments. That's the whole premise of sub 2. Purchasing subject to the loan. Now, if there's a whole bunch of equity, well, you might need to negotiate payment terms on that to the seller, you know? But usually those sellers are kind of desperate and they're willing to work with you as long as their objectives are met and your objectives are met. So let's talk about taking over someone's payments. Is it okay? And well, the short answer is no. What I mean by this is, you know, the loan terms do not allow for someone else to acquire the property and take over the payments. But no one really enforces that part. So here's what happens. You buy a property, sub 2. You're taking over the payments. And as long as you're not late on payments, and as long as you're not, causing any problems for the mortgage company, then they're just going to let you. They're just going to let you. They're going to collect the money because they've sold that loan. They're just servicing the loan. They're going to allow you to make, payments on it. And as long as you don't cause issues, they're not going to cause issues. But, let's talk about what could happen. Because statistically, the people that do a lot of sub-2, like Pace Morby, and if you want to learn about this, look up Pace Morby. It's a gentleman who does an amazing job with sub-2, and he educates people on how to do sub-2. So if you want to learn about that, look him up. He's got a program, of course, for like $5-7 grand or something. But anyway, here's what could happen. You can have the loan called due because you've officially violated a term of I think it's called the due on sale clause, and the acceleration clause also, depending on which state you're in. And basically, when you transfer the deed, they want you to pay off the loan. But the reality is that they won't. And statistically speaking, they say that about less than 1% of the loans do this. So, if you go on this crazy rampage and you acquire 100 properties sub-2 in 2024, well, one of them, statistically speaking, is going to call that loan due. And then you have to refinance that property or figure out how to pay it off or get a hard money loan, and you got a little bit of an issue, okay? But personally, I think that's worth it. That risk is worth it, because if you've acquired 100 properties sub-2, chances are some of them have extreme equity. Chances are, at least some. So you should have a position somewhere where you have a lot of equity and refinancing is not an issue for you. Okay, so what can you do to get started? Okay, first thing is first. You got to ask yourself, are you willing to put in the time? Because this is real estate. There's a lot of competition. Are you willing to go out there, pound the phones, search on Zillow, text people, call people, whatever? You have to reach out to sellers. That's basically what you have to do. That's what real estate agents do. But let me tell you something. No real estate agent is going to do this for you. No one's going to go and pound the phones and try to find a sub-2 seller or an owner finance seller. And if they do find one, they're gonna buy the property themselves unless they're an absolute beginner and have no idea what they're doing and basically just gave away, a lot of money. So people are not gonna do this for you. You gotta do this yourself. So are you willing to take the steps necessary to pound the phones and start looking for these people, the people that are willing to play ball with you? Now, if you're going to do the down payment assistance program, then there's actually a much better chance that an agent will help you in this. But you still have to do a little bit of work. You got to do the program, and then you have to start shopping. The agent's going to get compensated in that process, so that's not an issue at all. What's the next step then? After you've committed to pounding the phones and trying to find a sub-2, try to find an owner finance, well, you should get some help. Feel free to reach out to me. I know I keep talking about it in this video, but you need some help if you've never done it before. So you don't have to reach out to me, okay? You can go and you can reach out to YouTube and see what YouTube says. You can go on Reddit and get some advice, and you can just call agents and see who's willing to help you. But make sure it's somebody who's done this before, someone who acquires properties themselves, for themselves, this method, These are all great methods to do it. I've done owner finance. Like I said, I haven't done sub-2 yet. I'm going to this year though. And you can be someone who benefits if you work along with a professional. So definitely take action, do something. See you on the next one.